Good morning. Happy Sunday. It's day 39 of the Daily Spark questions. And this one says, how does my sense of self change across different physical spaces? How does my sense of self change across different physical spaces? So, my sense of self is obviously that internal sense of identity and that I feel like is persistent through time and has like a personality, has a history, has its old stories and common feelings, like imprinted behavior patterns, like all of that to me is tied up with this sense of self. And how does that change across different physical spaces? I feel like it changes for me quite a bit. I'd say like that's where I feel like, oh God, I just got to change my surroundings and I'll somehow feel different. I'll feel better. I'll be in a better mood. I'll be less bored or complacent. Or if I'm in a highly stimulated, like a lot of stimuli kind of environment, then I'll be like, I just need to go somewhere so I can feel calm. So, and some of that is not so much sense of self, but it's more nervous system, I guess, but I would attribute it to like, I just want to feel better. I just want my sense of self to be like, oh, I feel like me again, or I feel like a good person again, or it's like silly stuff when it's really just physical sensations that may be driving me to want to be in a different space. But even all that driver stuff aside, like when I'm just like going about my day and I'm in different physical spaces, I do feel like my sense of self changes a little bit here and there. Okay, so let me think about this. So at home, my sense of self, and here at work, my sense of self. I guess they don't change that much. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's more just like, I still feel like the same. There's like a consistency that persists in each environment. So I just proved myself wrong. I thought it changed a lot, but I really don't think it does. I think the expression of that sense of self varies. So, like, when I'm around people, I'm in environments where I'm around people, the expression of myself looks very different than when I'm at home alone. Even though internally I feel that consistency of personhood, it's just the expression of that self would change depending on what I'm interacting with in that particular physical space. And it's just subtle changes. It's not like I'm a completely different person. It just is all relational. It just depends on the circumstances and the people present and what we're doing. Like at the gym, I'm interacting in slightly different ways than here at work or at home with closer loved ones. Interesting. But I think that's all very common and common sense stuff. It's not like groundbreaking. I just think that's what we do, right? Like our personality expresses itself differently depending on what's around us, or has the opportunity to express in different ways. Sorry, hot flash. Woo! Something I feel like wants to be said about vulnerability and where my sense of self just doesn't need to be, period. Like doesn't need to be there at all. to where it feels more like I'm just being without a sense of self. And I feel like, holy moly, oh God. Thank goodness this is here. Oops, spilled it. I feel like it, like at home, when I'm just being creative or something, like I'm just in my little creative space, and it's not so much, I don't have like this sense of self. It's just like whatever's happening in front of me, whatever's getting created, played with, creatively. But it doesn't feel like tied to like an identity. Whereas when I'm relational with people, a lot of times it does feel like the sense of self comes up to express itself, and in the way that it feels like it's tapped into that consistent sense of self across physical spaces. This is weird to think about. It's kind of fun. And I just love, like, what's funny to think about is, I don't know, for me, it's fun to think about is when I'm relational, like I'm with other people, it's like when we show up with each other, we have this preconceived notion of who each other is. And we've talked about this before. Like, there's like what I think about a person and my history with that person and my assumptions about how they're going to walk through that door and show up and what we might talk about and what their mood might be, could be based on all the snippets of time that I've spent with them. And that conglomeration of an idea of a person could be totally different than how they perceive themselves and how they're going to show up that day. And yet, so there's like a million interpretations of a personhood, of a sense of self, both from the inside and the outside. So even my sense of self, even though I feel like there's this consistent piece of me, I'm different all the time. I perceive myself to be different all the time. I perceive other people to be different all the time. And some people, maybe who I haven't had as much time with, there's more of a stamp, like this is how they are, because there's less variation I've seen over time. You know what I mean? So to me, we are each like conglomerations of all the times we've spent together. And I think it's fun to think about how, like, vulnerability, like, when do I feel like I can show up with someone and not even express a sense of self? Can we just sit there and, like, blank stare at each other? No expression at all, just like, and not feel awkward? And then it'd be like, well, then why don't we just stay home? Like, why are we getting together? It would be fun to just get together and just like not do anything. But then I'm like, dude, I just stay home and do my fun stuff. So I guess, like, to be I mean, I would love to just sit and like not do, like, it would be like a date where you get together and say, we're gonna do this just to like experience what it's like, where we set aside this time and space for each other to do that. Otherwise, I'd be like, well, I want to go do something else. And I don't know why I feel that way. It's like, it feels like it would need to be agreed upon. Because, like, when you just show up with somebody and do that, you think something's wrong with each other, right? If you haven't said, this is what we're going to do. Because you'd be like, what is wrong with them? They're usually expressing something. I love to think about this stuff. Like, how can we Like, it's like awkward silence. Why do people feel the need to fill the silence? Why can't we just show up and not freaking talk to each other? It's so much more fun, isn't it, to like share space without talking and just sort of like communicate with like other ways and be like, wow, that's funny. Like, to like what emerges in the silence that we can still communicate with. I want to do more of that too. Because we fill this silence with like garbage that we don't even care about, like weather, sports. Oh, sorry if you're a sports person. I'm so not a sports person. And it's Super Bowl day, isn't it? Just kidding. I don't mind it, but I'd rather watch the Olympics. So I think about what is it in us that makes things have to be awkward? Why do we make it awkward? When it's just so natural to want to connect with each other, but this like fear, like if the vulnerability is hard, isn't it? It's like, what will they think of me if I just show up and don't say a word? I've been practicing that. I know I've talked about this, but every day I practice it in the sauna now because it's like a little social experiment for me now. It's just like I don't say a damn word in that sauna and just see what happens because it's a very tight space. So like the closer you are physically, it feels like, oh God, we gotta say something now. God forbid we sit like 2 inches apart and not say anything. Literally 2 inches like between, like it's like close. So it's kind of my fun experiment right now. Just because, I mean, I like silence and I don't want to talk about sports. That's what people talk about at the gym. Or politics. Okay, well, this was a lot of nothing, but it did make me noodle on like, what is this sense of self? Why does it even need to emerge? It really doesn't when there's no purpose. So I'm thinking like, well, it's useful in some sense when we're being relational in the way that says like, hey, let's connect. Who are you? You know, show me who you are, who you perceive yourself to be, what part of you wants to express. And then me from the outside will say, that is you, stamp. And then over 100 times being together, stamp, 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 stamp. And now I have this conglomeration of like who you are based on what you've expressed each time we've been together and how I've perceived you expressing. What moods do I think you tend to gravitate toward or flow between? Or what kinds of things do you talk about, which makes me think what kinds of things you think about, you know? And so it's like, it's just fun. And that's just who humans are with each other. And I'm always trying to think of like, but how can we just be awkwardly unawkwardly awkward, silent, show up and just communicate with facial expressions, body language, nothing at all, vibes.